The sound is on.
All right, I'd like to open this March 28th Washington County Planning meeting to order. Go right ahead. And we're going to go to number 2 first.
Number 2 first. This is a project under the Town of Hartford Planning Board consideration for approval of a site plan. The applicant is Main Drilling and Blasting Rattlesnakeville LLC, Construction and Quarry Division. The address is 7190 New York State Route, tax ID 149-1-39.4. And the project is the construction of a steel garage for maintenance and storage of supply distribution vehicles and machinery. In other words, big industrial equipment. And the purpose of the GML review is 500 feet of New York State Route 40, 500 feet of the Town of Argyle municipal boundary, and 500 feet of farm operation in Ag District 6. And they did submit an Ag District form. So this is to construct a 26 by 50 prefab steel building on level gravel area along Access Road. The proposed location is free of trees and utilities, and the building is to be placed on a concrete slab. And a note made is that Main Drilling and Blasting is a provider of drilling, blasting, and specialty services in the United States. The property on which the proposed building will stand has existing magazine storage. However, the distance between the storage building and magazines is being evaluated under ATF, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. So that's already looked after, and this use has been in existence already, so it's and the magazines are actually burned and we support the road like it's a specific. And if you look at the drawings of the building, you're going to see, or what I saw was that it's quite a that's a qualitative statement, but it looks sturdy to me from the drawings.
During construction of some these magazines and something would have to be moved. The hazard. It's one thing, distance of the building. But during construction, I would think that there have to be some thought given to that.
That's going to be all regular by ATF. Okay.
There's an existing road, I guess, or access road.
That's not a new activity.
Yes.
Thanks.
Doesn't seem to be anything that will generate new traffic or any other state road.
Yeah.
Um,
It's well off the state route as well. It's 500 yards, like 490.
yeah, it's probably the parcel itself. I would make a motion that this is a matter of local concern.
Second.
Second by Deb. All in favor? Any dialogue?
This one.
Yes.
And the thought came and no, I'm gonna think of it later. Quit. Darn. Oh, municipal boundary. So a notice to me, so we are good. Yes.
All right, thank you. All in favor, say by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. Okay. We'll go back to number 1.
So this is a project under the Village of Port Edward consideration for approval of a site plan. Applicant is Irving Consumer Products. The address is 180 Street, tax ID 163.17-4-41.1. And the drawings show that also, and I added parcel 163.17-4-22. Construction of a 66,200 square foot building between unattached existing buildings. And the purpose of GML review is 500 feet of New York State Route 4, the village of Fort Edward, Washington County municipal boundary with Saratoga County, and then 500 feet of boundary of state-owned land. That's the out basin. And so the proposed construction of storage building is on 1.5 acres, 44% of lot to be developed after project, for the purpose to provide on-site parent roll storage and to reduce the need for off-site storage.
So, something you don't see in there, you'll notice we have one of our guests today is Mr. Burling from the sewer district. That parcel has had there's been ongoing discussions with the sewer district about various things going on there. And so while it's not necessarily the purview of this organization to address that, I think it's the purview of this organization to note that there are concerns about that. And so I'll let Joe briefly tell us what his concerns are, because if that would be a county impact, obviously, if the main sewer district in the county is impacted.
Yeah.
Activity.
There's a good chunk of that area, formerly village streets. There's a trunk sewer, meaning it's a main sewer main that takes drainage from 3 or 4 sewer sheds, drainage areas that travels through that property. In order for them to put the building where they want to build it, they have to move the sewer line.
What's
my understanding
That's
That's the way they got it drawn out, they certainly can. 7 years ago, they came to the district, they wanted to put some machinery, they had a project. And we worked with them for 7 years now. And we went out, got grant funding. If you're going to move a sewer line in the sewer district, because it's a combined sewer area, and there is a combined sewer overflow just outside of their property line. If you're going to do that under our speedies permit, we need to also look at separating storm sewers, a bunch of different factors. So we did that, we got grant money, we went out, did some preliminary engineering, came back with a project. It was too much money, so we changed the scope, we knocked down the scope, went out for more money. At the time, what year? 2015, 16, the estimated project costs for sewer, we do some water work, because if you're working in the village streets, the sewer mains and water mains are usually right close to each other. If you do any work, you got to get separation. So you might as well do the water as well. And then separating the stormwater. The project cost was around $6.5 million, I think, of the second scope of work. We had $4.5 million of grant money, and we could not get a commitment from Irving to cost share. So we've lost, I don't know how much of that grant money we've lost. We've lost at least $2 million of that grant time. And so it's just been an ongoing thing. I couldn't tell you literally how many months of my time I have working on just this project. We found out about this when Roger or Laura, whoever, got the information from the village. They never came to us with this plan. They know that they need our approval and DEC's approval to do anything with that sewer. So that's a little disconcerting, but we'll deal with it whatever way we have to deal with it. We have major concerns about moving that sewer line. And they will have to get permitted from us. They will have to get approval from DEC. So,
How many households does that sewer line impact? Or would it impact?
you know, McCray Street.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything uphill from that. And McCray Street, and then there's a little area of Browns Lane, Test Lane, you know, down towards the river, at the west end of McCray. I don't know how many households. Like I said, it's three, maybe part of 3 or 4, what we call sewer sheds, which are drainage areas. And there's a lot of combined sewers in there. They're probably the oldest sewers in the village, some of the oldest sewers in the village. So it's concerning.
So I would also point out, I believe there is what is probably an error on the short form EAF. In discussion with Irving, they are more than aware that they require sewer district and DEC permit, but their EAF indicated that they did not require any state or federal permits to be ahead of it. So assuming that's an error.
In the drawings that I have, that I believe you have, there's one set for stormwater, and they're showing an existing stormwater line that I wasn't aware existed. I do know that they have, you know, catch basins in a parking lot. It was my understanding that they were dry wells. I did not know that they were connected. And they're showing a new stormwater line, and I couldn't ascertain exactly where that stormwater line discharges to. They certainly can't discharge it back to the sewer. So that's just another concern. I think so. I believe there was something on the EAF also about stormwater that kind of made me think. I'm not saying it was wrong. I'm not saying it's incorrect, but I remember something being in there that kind of piqued my interest. So they're at some point in time, they're going to have to submit to the district their plans. That will require that we have third-party engineering review of the project at their cost. And then they're going to have to, I don't believe DEC will look at it until we've approved it. You know, it could be a parallel track, that's fine. But there's some real concerns.
The point of this group, I don't think, is to make value judgments so much as to make sure that the concerns and compliance with the regulations, it's an extra step of review. So in talking to Joe, it's like, I don't think we can say you can't do your project, but we can indicate our concerns regarding the sewer district as the county impact, and make sure that those concerns are looked at and to make sure they're noted for the record. So that I hope they're already aware of it, and if they're not, this is the chance to do that. Whether there should be a warehouse there or not, it's not really why we're here.
Right.
But if you're going to do something, make sure that all the concerns and impacts are addressed. That's at least a regional impact, if nothing else, because that sewer district affects quite a bit of the major population center.
So the sewer district owns these things or has easements?
It's public door.
So
Whether or not you find a public easement, I'm not sure. Because of the transfers of ownership and it's 100 years old. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they don't want to. So it started out, I didn't realize this area started out actually as neighborhoods and roads.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and that's why it's suited the way it is. So it's actually population center, but it was residential. It's time to find out they abandoned it.
Right.
It came soon.
And all along McCray Street where Bergen probably borders it, that was all houses. They probably, in my time, there's, I want to say 8 or 10 houses along McCray Street that they bought up. The church, They just bought Cumberland Farms. They're gonna, that's coming down at some point in time. Which is fine, I mean, they paid for it, they own it, that's fine. There's history there. So. I'm not happy that that line runs through there, but, I would prefer that we would have been able to move it. We were gonna move that sewer line up onto McCray Street. And get a whole lot of really necessary work done that would have allowed us to grant money and move up the hill and do more separation. And sewer rehab and water and all of that good stuff. It didn't happen. It's unfortunate.
Jimmy?
Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
I just want to point out, so Irving did not create this situation. Irving's predecessor is, and possibly the predecessor before that, is the entity that's responsible for just tearing down houses, creating a parking lot, not doing anything about the sewer system beneath it. So Irving has inherited the issue. It's just, and they are a very good employer. I would like to encourage us all being able to work together and finding a solution that works for the sewer district and works for Irving.
It's not meant to be adversarial against the project or the company or anything. It's meant to note that there are concerns that the record before us didn't necessarily address. So we want to supplement the record. Say, look, there are other things here, local planning board, that need to be considered.
I sent the same memo to the village planning board that I sent you guys.
Yep.
So it's local concern.
Well, it's comments.
Right.
I might suggest. I can see that coming.
I know the kind of the scope of the proposed projects, the previous project. Is there a way to not simply, but isolate the part of the sewer that will impact this project only without creating a larger separation project?
Sure.
How much you got?
Well, I mean,
That's what, gives me pause. Is that 7 years ago, 1.5 billion would have eliminated this. Now, I guarantee you it's gonna cost them 1.5 billion, more than 1.5 billion to move that sewer.
right.
So that it's acceptable to the district and DEC, and so that sticks in my head. The way it's laid out, the way they've got it drawn out, that's not gonna work, okay? And it's not like I knew they were talking about going up and around. They were talking about going closer to McCray Street than they're proposing here. So this is, the fourth iteration of this. And like I said, it's gonna require third-party engineering review, which when I'm formally given these plans, then I can procure the engineering. That's a process. That's not gonna make them happy, so this, fun.
So we have a matter of local concern with extensive comments.
What are the comments?
We need to list out the comments or we.
No, I think you do need to list out the comments or concerns
Right.
regarding the sewer district.
Well, if there were a memo in the sewer district, that might be appropriate. I know they've already received it, but to also attach that with our
Yeah, agree.
review.
Yep.
I purposely didn't put a lot of detail in there. Okay, because at the time I had just gotten them, I knew you needed something. And
It triggered the discussion.
Right.
Yeah.
And it puts on, again, we're making a record.
They're gonna have to come to me.
That's what the detail is gonna have, they're gonna have to ask you to come in and
they're
discuss
gonna
in
come to
detail.
this.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
So that memo's not in this package. But you all got it. Okay. I didn't.
Oh, who did I send it to? I didn't send it?
Oh,
I did send it to the village.
All right,
Okay.
I'll send it. Don't worry.
So if you send that memo to Pamela that we can include it with our
Okay.
return to the plant. Well,
That should cover our concerns, right? And we're getting it from the source of what other concerns. Go ahead, Laura.
So I would suggest that we make a specific statement that recommends that the village in the FDA.
Okay, yeah.
We made a motion there.
We have a motion, does it to, well, that, it's including those comments, we need a second. The motion made by Allison.
I don't think the
Oh, no, you motioned that, you
Yeah.
did, yeah, definitely.
In addition to the comment suggested by Laura and the memo, we just say that the applicant needs to, that's something to the point that the applicant needs to coordinate with the sewer district before this project. is forward. Something like that. I'll work on the statement.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want them to expend a bunch of time and resources on engineering
Yeah.
just to have to, step back
Mhm,
and do it again.
mhm.
If we borrow that.
Yes, smooth. I will second.
Okay. Any other dialogue? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Sheriff. Thank you, Laura.
The third item of planning agency business is under other, because it's a name that was in. And in fact, the short environmental. Came in, so I might comment and just. Got it. But this is the Town of Jackson Planning Board draft solar energy law. It's townwide. It's an adoption of a utility scale solar energy facilities law. And the purpose of GML review is that it's wide, so it covers any number of the 500 feet that requirements to us. Briefly stating here on the EF, there's a paragraph, local law 3 of 2023. The Town of Jackson is adopting a local law to permit utility scale solar energy facilities within the town. The purpose of this law is to promote the effective and efficient use of solar energy systems while still preserving the character of the community and protecting environmentally sensitive areas and farmlands. This law will require all solar energy facilities with a nameplate capacity of 1 megawatt or greater that produce energy that is predominantly sold off for site use into the grid to apply for site plan review through the town, meeting all requirements, including but not limited to a full environmental assessment form and accompanying environmental reports, the stormwater pollution prevention plan, meets all of New York State DEC design guidelines, a visual impact evaluation that would include a GIS viewshed analysis of the zone of visual impact, and would also meet New York State DEC guidelines, a noise study, and a site plan that is signed and stamped by a licensed professional engineer registered in New York State that includes imperative information on existing natural conditions. All existing on-site vegetation would be required to be presented to the maximum extent practicable, and grading and landscape plans will be required to help protect the environment from any potential adverse effects. There will be a minimum 100-foot perimeter buffer consisting of natural and undisturbed vegetation surrounding all mechanical equipment and solar panel arrays. If the solar facility has not generated electricity for a period of 6 consecutive months, a decommissioning process will begin with regular inspections to aid in restoring the property to its pre-existing condition and to repair any damage caused by the installation and removal of the USSEF. And of course, the details of the law have been submitted with the application to the planning agency. I'll just quickly look and see if there's anything. Yeah. So this action involves the legislative adoption of a plan, yes. Requires permit approval by the Washington County Planning Agency. proposed critical environmental area, I guess the town must have some, so that's. Archaeological sites or national state register, yes. Located adjacent or an area designated as sensitive for that, yes. Lands adjoining the proposed action contain wetlands, yes. Species of animals listed by the federal government as threatened or endangered, all legal for its location, yes. As the site of proposed action, joining property been the subject of remediation, it's closer to checked off.
So this lets anybody put solar up in Jackson as long as they meet criteria,
It makes them go through a process to do it.
but
So-
as long as they meet criteria.
Well, I mean, as long as, right now, I'm not sure they have to do anything. So,
Well, they can't do
what
anything
this
right now.
does now is, it says now you can't just go plop it wherever you want to, you have to go through the town and go through a process. So that, because the answer to all those yeses was, is it next to a wetland? Could be, it depends, where you want to put it, what do you want to do, how's it gonna, so we will see the individual projects again. In all likelihood, if they meet our criteria. But this is the process, this isn't a project, this is the process to get a project started. So, right,
Not much.
Guardrails we call it, right, Jay?
Yeah.
at least somebody's looking. And you know what's going on in your town.
Right.
That's the idea behind this.
Okay.
Just long.
So, there's a question, what happens if it's a 20 meg above and the state's gonna cite it?
Well, then Ori's always, there's always the,
They don't want to answer it.
however many pound gorilla it is. Ori's right? Oris?
Yes.
Right, right, that's the process where they've decided that they don't really care what they do with this thing, but. If they choose to go through with the local process, they'll know how to process.
Dave, as I discussed with Jimmy, and there's one section in the law there that says that all solars in ag district will go to the Ag Land Protection Board to be reviewed and make comments to the state. At the end of the day, the ag commissioner can stop one if he so deems it. If it's on critical prime soil, that change would be detrimental to the agricultural community. It's not gonna happen very often, but it can happen. It's happened once already.
Especially the governor's whispered to all her department heads what she wants.
It happened once. He stopped one out in the central part of the state.
How big was that?
I don't know how big a one, but it was right in the middle of the lakes area where there's really prime agricultural, and it was gonna affect a lot of stuff. Out there, out in the western part, they're huge ones. They're 1,000, 2,000 acres. But, I mean, I don't know that there's any in this county that have come up that he would have considered stop.
So I just want to clarify, Oris has oversight, any project that is 20 to 25 megawatts can choose whether they want to go to Oris or go through the Article 10 process. It's greater than 25 megawatts or greater. Oris has automatic jurisdiction, and Oris has the authority to supersede any local law that they consider burdensome. But the 20 to 25 is a choice that the solar operators are going to most likely choose to go through Oris because it's going to be an easier process for them. But I would say that, and Roger, correct me if I'm wrong, but local laws are going to be more likely to have the ability to affect in the range of 20 to 25, and then certainly below 20.
I think your local laws are, as Jimmy said, put guardrail. It's gonna be there. Let's impact the areas as little as possible.
And it's not about telling our farmers what they can and can't do. Right.
Oh, no,
Right.
no, farmers or any other.
Right.
landowner.
Right, exactly. Matter of local concern.
Second.
Any further comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Just this
Yes,
small
absolutely.
note, and just wanted to say that the Washington County Planning Department has some resources for the town planning board that specifically addresses some of the best practices for developing.
You want to include that in our, just back to them?
I'll go back to them outside of the planning, see if they so decide.
All right, excellent. All right, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed? Carries. We have one other piece, right, Pamela?
It's just, we have a report of final action from the village of Hudson Falls, Griffin Hall that we saw a month ago or so. They approved the action and there was no changes, or we didn't make any requirement for any comments. And then the application completed for Town of Fort Anne notice, public notice from the Adirondack Planning Agency P 2011-0157B. And this is in the Town of Fort Anne, County Route 16, Area of Resource Management. And this is a continuation of a commercial sand and gravel operation authorized by agency permit 2011-0157, with the addition of material crushing and washing, installation of a well, and the construction of 2 settling ponds. So as usual, we are free to write them with comments. And the other thing is that I received one of the letters from Ag and Markets confirming inclusion of viable ag land into Washington County Ag District 1, 2, and 5 for Washington County Resolution number 251/2023. And that's it.
Anything else coming before the committee? We adjourn. Thanks, everybody. Good job.